All right, shalom, family. Sorry about that. The live didn't do, I told y'all my connection wasn't the best, but we just gonna pick up where we left off. Again, we was in Isaiah 54:17. We was breaking down the second part of the verse where it says that every tongue that rises up against you, right? Every tongue that rises up against you through judgment, you shall condemn, right? And so the idea of that word condemn is actually the Hebrew word rashah, which it means wicked, right? But it's a variation of that word that really goes back to the idea of you taking a stance against what was wickedly spoken or spoken out of dysfunctional intention, right? To bring forth a sentence against what was wickedly done against you, which is really against Yah. So going back to what happened earlier on today, right? When Maisha was woken up and I was woken up out of my sleep, and we were engaging in Ruach battle, Ruach warfare. And eventually we were able to get some of our Mishpaka on Zoom. We were able to tap in and war, right? At a certain point, the Ruach began to place scriptures within our beings to speak boldly and firmly, right? In addition to the actual things that we were led to do, getting up and moving, right? And again, because you're carrying out a battle against an unseen enemy. So the Ruach has to lead you in what to do. We weren't just sitting there on the ground reading the script, slow and so. No, we were actively up, moving. We were getting wet. We were doing the things that our master was leading us to do in that moment. And one of the things that we were being led to do was go over script. We went over several scripts. We went to Hebrews, I believe, 4. We went to Isaiah, hallelujah, 14. And we went over everything everything that Yah has spoken against Hasatan, who was doing what? Forming a weapon against us, which is, again, against Yah. So what were we doing? We were condemning, hallelujah, the tongue that was being risen up against us, right? So let me finish this verse. It says, and every tongue that shall rise against you in judgment, right, Rashah, you shall condemn. I'm saying in judgment, right, Mishpat, you shall condemn. And what is judgment, right? It's the idea of reviewing cases and making a righteous judgment call. But it's also the idea of acting in righteousness to satisfy objective justice, right? Looking at a wrong and bringing the solution that the Ruach is given to rectify or to balance the scale of this unjust, imbalanced thing that is taking place or happening, right? So look, it says, this is the heritage of the servants of Yahuwah, and their righteousness. Oh, this you can't overlook the righteousness of Yah. Their righteousness is of me, says Yahuwah. How do we know that this is of a truth? Because we know that it's Yah's Ruach leading us in these moments to do certain things that he's prepared us to do to engage in this Ruach or spiritual battle. And so how do we know that the evidence of this righteousness or this righteous act, because that's what really righteous, we're gonna definitely talk more about what righteousness is, the Hebrew word Zadik, right? It does mean straight path, but even beyond that, it's doing what's right in the moment, right? It's also the idea of giving alms, which again is what? It's an act of doing something. You seeing this person homeless, poor, don't have a way to eat, don't have a way to feed their family. You're being moved by Yah's Ruach to give them something to help them in their situation. You're moved to act. It's the idea of to satisfy objective justice, balance the scales. You being moved to do something. You being convicted based off what you see to act and help somebody in their time of need, right? So what does all this have to do with war and battling and territory? It's Yah's Ruach leading you in the acts that you do. Think about the book of Acts, right? All of the sent ones, all of the Shalakim, also known as the apostles, were doing what? They were acting. They were doing things based off of them being moved by and led by Yah's spirit, his Ruach. Hallelujah. So when it says this is the heritage of the servants of Yahuwah, right? That idea of heritage, man, it's going to take you back to your culture. The gathering, right? The statutes, the gathering, right? The gathering of us under the authority of the shepherd. Why? Because the end goal is for all of us to be used as those vessels, as those containers of righteousness. That's the end goal. That's the end goal. But the intermediate goal is to do what? Is to win the battle. And how do you do that? By being ready, by being prepared, by being humble, by being aligned, in alignment with what the voice of the Ruach is saying, and internalizing, connecting with Yah every time he calls you. Every time you feel the need to connect with your power and to be led. Hallelujah. So what's the bottom line? Bottom line is, listen, we not only have to know the word of Yah, but we have to be at a spiritual place of really being aligned to his frequency and knowing him and filling ourselves up with his narrative. Because I'm telling you, that's what the attack is. That's what the rising of the tongue against you is. It's for you to see and perceive a different narrative than the one that Abba Yahuwah has provided through the Ruach, through this word, through his script, right? So the bottom line is, nah, you stand firm on them powers and you go over them again and again and again and again in your mind. And by doing this, you prepare yourself in the time of battle when you are attacked, when a different narrative presents itself. You'll be able to do like Dawood and say, listen, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I don't fear no evil, right? Because your rod and your staff, they comfort me, right? You begin to quote the word of Yah in those situations because that word is not dead, it's living within you. It's movement, it's moving, it has life, and it moves and causes you to act. It causes you to do something, right? It causes you to be at a place of oneness with your general and your commander, following his every command to neutralize that battle so that your commander, your chief, your commander-in-chief, your authority, your general, right, maintains control of that territory, of not just your mind, but the minds of everybody in that scenario. That's what winning the battle is, right? That's what winning the battle is. Because again, this battle is against evil. It's against dysfunction. It's against all that stands against Yah. And keep in mind, we are really at battle with the unseen enemy. And the unseen enemy, I'm trying to tell you, it's the devil and every demonic spirit that is trying to get you to believe or align yourself to another narrative. Because you got to understand, narratives are not necessarily just stories. They're connected to pathways. I'm going to get into this soon, right? Like I said, I don't know if it'll be tomorrow or whenever Yah leads me to, but we're going to definitely talk about the origin of demons and what evil spirits actually are, right? They are beings confined to this realm that have been kicked out of the heavenly realms, right? But you can't see or hear them in the flesh. You can only perceive them spiritually, ruachally, right? So saying all this to say, the true weapon, the true instrument, it is Yah's word. But in order for you to utilize Yah's word, you yourself have to be an instrument. You have to be a kala. You have to be a vessel, which also goes back to the idea of purpose, right? The idea of purpose. That's what your purpose is as a spiritual being, as a man, woman. Yes, it is to be fruitful, multiply, and to bring forth other beings that are servants of Yah. But it's ultimately you yourself being that container, you yourself being that weapon, and you being one with that word that Yahuwah has spoken, and never being led astray of that narrative. So, hallelujah, this is kind of like a part 2, and from the live shutting down because of, the whole internet Wi-Fi thing not necessarily being as strong as we needed to be in this moment. But praise Yah for the video, right? The ability to post just a regular video using the phone and not necessarily having to rely on the streaming connection, because we rely on the connection of the Ruach. So build yourself up in that word. I pray that encourages you and gives you better understanding of the depth of what it means when our King, our El, our power says, no weapon formed against you shall advance or prosper. Hallelujah. Shalom.